Okay, I think I got the first one to work, so now I'm going to continue this. This section 1.1, day 1 still. So this is the second video of that. This is still graphing basics. Okay, and we talked about a little bit of how you know what kind of equation you got and the slope, and we're going to talk more about that in the next video and some other things. So what does the x-intercept mean for a graph, and how do we find it? Okay, so there I go. Let's see if I can do this. If I think about my x and y axis, the x-axis, we're looking for where the curve crosses the x-axis. Well, that's great. If I think about my x-axis, okay, and I think about all the points that are on the x-axis, and here's the y-axis, right? -1, -2. So this point right here, it has the coordinates 2, 0. This point over here has the coordinates -1, 0. If I had another point over here, -3, that would be the point -3, 0. So notice all of those points on an x-axis have a y value of 0, and that's the big deal. Okay, when we're looking for the x-intercept, we're going to let y be 0. Okay, so all the time. So when I have this here, I'm going to let y be 0. So y equals 0, and then I'm going to solve for x. So I'm going to say 2x minus 0 equals 5, or 2x equals 5, divide by 2, x equals 2.5. So the x-intercept is the point 2.5, comma 0. Y is always 0. Okay, over here, underneath, I'm going to let y be 0, so 0 equals 3x minus 5. I'm going to solve for x, add 5, so 5 equals 3x, divide by 3, x equals 5/3. And I'm just going to leave it like that because it's a repeating decimal, so it's pretty ugly. So then I just write it as a point, 5/3, comma 0. You almost always want to write your x and y intercepts as points. Okay, so here's one. Oops. Here's one for us. And this, I don't know, do I have to be in the home to make this bigger? Oh yeah, maybe, I don't know. Okay, this is all new to me, so we're just going to try to figure it out. We're going to let y be 0, and I have x squared minus 4. Well, now I got a quadratic, right? And usually when we solve quadratics, we can factor, or like this one, I could add 4 to both sides and get x squared equals 4, and then take the square root of both sides. X equals, now this one you might just say 2, but technically it's plus or minus 2, right? Take the square root of 4, I can have 2 or -2. Those are my two answers. And you're thinking, oh yeah, it's a parabola, right? And it's going to cross the x-axis at 2 and at -2. So my two x-intercepts are 2, 0 and -2, 0. Okay? And then this one, you might not even remember this one. This is a circle, right? X squared plus y squared equals 16, where the center is 0, 0. Think back to geometry, a lovely time ago. 4, so, you know, it's going to go like this, and it's going to cross at the 4s, because that's the square root of 16. But if I don't remember that, I can still let y be 0. X squared plus 0 squared equals 16. So that means x squared equals 16. Take the square root of both sides. X equals plus or minus 4. So my x-intercepts are 4, 0 and -4, 0. Okay, so x-intercepts. We're going to do y-intercepts also, but we're going to start with just x-intercepts evidently. Oh, here's y-intercepts. There we go. Y-intercepts. Sorry, forgot what was next. Y-intercepts is where the graph crosses the y-axis, right? And that means x's are going to be 0 because we're looking for the y value. So I'm going to let I'm going to put 0 in for x and solve for y now. So it's basically the same thing. You just got to remember which one is 0. And that's not so bad, because if we're looking for the y-intercept, I have to solve for y, right? And if I'm looking for the x-intercept, I solve for x. So hopefully you'll be able to remember which one is going to be 0. So this one I divided by -1, and so I got y equals -5. So x equals 0, y equals -5. Over here, I'm going to let x be 0, so y equals 0 squared minus 4, or y equals -4. And that should make sense because it's a parabola and it only crosses the y-axis once. Almost always, because we're dealing with functions, we're only going to have one y-intercept. We might have multiple x-intercepts, but we're only going to have one y-intercept because it's a function. Now, this is not a function. This is a circle, not a function. So this is like before. We let 0 in for x, y squared equals 16. So y squared equals 16. Take the square root of both sides. So y is plus or minus 4. It's just like before. So x is 0, -4, and x is 0, +4. But that's not a function. Remember, a circle is not a function. That's why there are two values. Oh, and then this one, a y-intercept. If we're paying attention, we already know the y-intercept is -5, right? Because it's the b value. But if I'm not paying attention, which often happens, 3 times 0 minus 5, so y equals -5. So that's the point 0, comma, -5. Okay? Now, in your book, you are supposed to try to match the graph with the equation. So just see if you can do this. It's no big deal if you can't, but hopefully as we go on, you'll be able to do it. It does say the answers are somewhere, page A1. So hopefully you'll be able to try to start figuring this out. If not, that's okay too. Don't worry about it. Not a huge deal, okay? All right, so I think that's it on this. Yes, it is. So that's the end of section 1.1, day 1. So there are 2 videos for day 1. So we have more stuff in section 1.1, but that'll be day 2, and I'll make more videos for that. Okay? All right.